Welcome. My name is Claire, and this is your awareness protocol. I'll break it down just to start you off. The key things that are really important to me, why awareness is so paramount. And for me, it's another way of saying elevated consciousness. When everyone's talking now about raising your consciousness, expanding your consciousness, the consciousness of the planet, let's all, evolve our consciousnesses. And these are really just words. And everyone will have a different idea of what consciousness is, because everyone is trying to explain in words the unexplainable, because consciousness is an energy, it's formless, it doesn't exist as a thing. Therefore we're trying to make it measurable by describing it, and that's tricky because everyone has a different version and idea of consciousness. And you're getting a little bit into three principles now. It's the three principles is Sydney Banks's way of describing energy, describing God, describing this formlessness that we experience this life. And his three principles in describing the formless is mind, consciousness and thought. We can all then go, those three things don't exist in matter. They're all definitely energy-based things. And we do our best to describe them. Now, I love the three principles. Sydney Banks has coined a very simple way to spirituality. It's a roadmap through to modern spirituality, in my perspective, because he says things like, in religion, if a religious person comes to my talk, everyone comes up to me and says, "Oh, you're talking about the Jewish religion," and Sydney Banks goes, "Yeah," and they say, "Well, what do you know about Jewish heritage?" And he goes, "Nothing." Because he knows across the board that he's speaking the truth and the essence of every single religion out there, because every single religion is saying the same thing. And the principles of energy, I think everyone's tried to explain for millennia. It's that big question of, well, what is God and why are we here? And how on earth do we get round power of the mind, brain stuff? You know, we have all of this thinking. We know the brain's really powerful. What on earth does it do? And we're trying to use the computer mind really to understand and grasp something that for me can't really be computed or shouldn't really be put into the confines of our mental computer, because it's much bigger than that. So Sydney Banks explains principles and understanding energy as hearing through the words, and that you're looking for a feeling. And the feeling will raise your consciousness, and you won't necessarily know or understand or put together, I don't actually know what he just said, but I felt something move, I felt something shift. And it's that idea, that spiritual knowing and trusting from a different place rather than our intellectual brain computer. And it is so challenging to put into words and put into form because it is formless. So there is an element of trust with raising your consciousness and going, okay, so if I listen to this person and trust that it will raise my consciousness, that's what's going to happen. And I'll just know that I'll get it. Okay. And then you're more likely to get it quicker, really, because you surrender rather than try and figure it out and need to understand and keep asking questions and Yes, the mind does that in loads of different scenarios. And I always used to get really perturbed when spiritual masters said to me, well, surrender. You know, just stop your thinking in meditation. Just stop thinking. You want to get non-thought, stop thinking. And I just go, easier said than done. You can't just say stop thinking, because it's like saying stop, don't push the red button. All you want to do then is push the red button, and it accentuates the thinking, because then you're annoyed about that. And the same thing that came along with this work. And the first time I came across the 3 principles, I was like, well, here we go again. It's another spiritual master saying, do nothing, surrender, just don't do anything. And I'm there going, that gets me tense and tight and frustrated and annoyed. And what I figured out is that it's, for me, then became about the awareness. Because they were using certain words to guide people into a sense of space. But if I didn't resonate with their words, I wouldn't find that space. I would go into a state of contraction. Okay, let me explain that again, because I want this to be really clear. So I think words and language are exceedingly important, but not so that we're worried about what we say and the language that we use, because we just want to use language that resonates with us. We're going to use language that sits in this computer up here that we have access to. What the recipient hearing the language can really do is hold a level of awareness that says, okay, what's that description done to me? So when spiritual master had said to me, just don't think, I contracted. And I said, that's not a good enough explanation. That's annoying. And I went into my opinion of that was contraction. Or do nothing. Do nothing? What do you mean do nothing? And then it was perhaps confuse or overwhelm. But there was then a later time when I received a do nothing. And I went, oh, okay then. Whew, phew. Ah, so I can stop holding on. I just don't have to do anything. And I went to a space of expansion. And it was really like a sigh. Oh, I let it go. And I went, okay. Oh, I just don't bother then. Not a sunken don't bother then. It was an alive, I'm free. I just can surrender to do nothing. Okay, easy. I can do that. And that's what hit their nail on the head for me, is when it was described in that way, I went, and I felt really good about the surrender, and I found this space because it was said in such a way that it relieved me. It went, just do nothing. Whereas when it was said before in used different words, I contracted and went, I don't get it, that's really difficult. So I think that's the key when listening to any, and there will be so much wisdom. There is so much wisdom you don't have to be a spiritual master to speak wisdom. Everybody has this innate wisdom. It is within everyone. Nobody is more spiritual than the next person. Everybody has this innate wisdom. And let that land. Because it is really, really true. It is the responsibility of the observer and the person hearing the words to notice how they land. Did I contract and not take what this person said on board? What was my opinion of what they said? Am I annoyed about it? Am I on the defensive? Do I think that they just don't know anything and I'm better than them? Or have I already decided that I'm open and I'm going to learn from this person because they're in a status role, because I've read loads about them already and I'm really on point because I've heard that they're amazing, so I'm there ready and eager to learn from them. And each sentence that comes, I'll nourish and go, ooh, what's here for me? What's here for me? Because it's the state of the receiver that makes all the difference. And when you do group workshops and things, this becomes really clear and obvious. If you've got a group of dropped in, heart-centered individuals and you pair people up to do coaching, I've experienced this myself, and I was in a pair with somebody else. I was relating to my relationship and what I wanted to work on in my relationship at home. Nothing to do with this person over here. This person was talking about their relationship and their things, nothing in relation to me. And we were both talking as if we were talking to the other person in our relationship. And what was coming out of this woman's mouth was exactly what I would expect to receive from my partner. And I was going, she doesn't even know the situation, she has no idea, but she's speaking and everything's landing, and it was such wise wisdom words, exactly what I needed to hear. And from her perspective, the same thing was coming from me, but I was speaking what I wanted to say to my partner out loud and express, and she was going, oh my goodness. Oh, it was so real and so authentic, such wise words. And for me, that is the power of the intelligence that we're with here on the planet. That if you are coming from your wisdom, it will orchestrate the right people in that room to be paired together. And then you all have, and then if everyone's dropped in and everyone's present, an electric self-development, aha moment experience. And you can be talking to anybody. When people say things like, oh, I just heard something funny from somebody at the bus stop and it was exactly what I needed to hear. Or, you know, the woman at the checkout or somebody in the street. So my invitation is is to heighten that awareness the entire time. And the practice is slowing down and listening to everything that goes on in your life. Because all of it will be valid and relevant. None of it will just be, oh, just random and they just said that and oh, never mind and I'm just going to palm it off. If you're not listening and you don't want to heighten your awareness, stay in the tunnel vision. But if you're wanting to expand your consciousness, heighten your awareness, come from the perspective that everything is relevant. Everything is a little nugget of wisdom specially designed for you in that day. And every moment is an opportunity. Even when you go to the shops out shopping and it seems like a mundane task. If you're dropped in and present, it won't be. If you're on autopilot and you've no idea what's going on, then it will. But if you open your awareness to the present moment, suddenly all these bits of your life become so synchronistic. And you went, oh, I've just dropped into a brand new universe where everything's alive in the present moment. I'm getting all of this beauty and wisdom off of strangers and connection and awe and aliveness and beauty in nature. And for me, I found, and then I'm able to talk to the trees and converse with the spirits and then start to heighten my awareness doing all this energy work. And it really will change your life. Once the consciousness is raised and you're experiencing from there, you might have a temporary drop in consciousness. Something might happen. You might get ill. You might be knocked off kilter. And then your thinking starts to get the better of you and you're doing it's called a Matoti mind in the Toltec. The Matoti mind is going round and round and you're in a loop and blah, blah, blah. But once you've been raised in consciousness, you can go, oh, this is so obvious that I've just had a drop in consciousness. And wow, the thinking down here is something else. What can I do to raise my vibration again? And then you just come back to the work, come back to the teachings. And that's what's so important about my work and my life coaching. Will take you through a process to raise your vibration and give you tools to be able to get back there. And from that place, you can navigate life with ease and with breeze. No health problems, no overeating, no stress, and all the negative stuff that we experience, take that aside. And the plus side of the raising consciousness is the connection to yourself, because you're more aware of yourself. Then your connection to other people, how you express yourself to other people is more on point because you're more aware of yourself. So your connection and your relationships then start to blossom because they're more heart-centered. And your connection to other people, your connection to the earth, your connection to everything. And connection is the through thread of this work. I like heightened awareness because for me that is the roadmap to, or another way of saying, raise consciousness is heighten your awareness, because if you're raising your consciousness, you're expanding your knowledge. Expanding your knowledge is really expanding your awareness. And that's one of the ways that you can raise your consciousness. One of the ways, I think, is to have a full-blown spiritual experience God, and then get it really quickly. Another way is to do tools and techniques, expand your knowledge, raise your vibration, and then become more aware of your feelings. And then not listen to the words or try and figure it out. So you might get it straight away, boom, an enlightenment experience. You might get the seeds planted through the words. And then further down the line, you're really present, or you're just sitting somewhere and you get a feeling. And that's it. And then you go, oh, right, nice. And then it starts to deepen. And for others, it might be a reminder. It might be that you've touched in elevated consciousness, that you've been there for parts of your life, but you've come back down because the collective is down. So you've dipped up and dipped in. And then this work is a reminder. And then bits that you're hearing is gently reminding you again. And you're going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's growing the seeds and reminding you. So I hope that's given you a nice overview to the awareness package and the reasons why it's so important and so imperative to do the awareness work, to know yourself. Because for me, I don't think you can get there without the awareness. Because you need to be aware of how you're reacting. But I'm very excited for you to expand yourself, expand your consciousness, expand your knowledge, grow your container to the biggest, best, brightest, elevated version of you, and live in awe every single day. Whoopee chai.